Real Kyper and Bourne on Sportsnet 590 The Fan.
Really concerned about Ben Ennis. He's doing this commercial, but in the commercial, he's talking about his house falling apart.
I know. It's a roof. It's a faucet. They got issues. What do you want?
Good thing he does a great job on our drive home show.
He does a wonderful job.
All right.
And uses Jiffy. Support Jiffy.
Yes. Nick Kypreos, Justin Bourne. And our show's not brought to you by Jiffy.
No, it's not.
But it could be soon.
Sure.
You never know.
Let's talk to Dave Jiffy, who owns it.
We are Real Kyper and Bourne. Derek Brandeo, David Sisboom-Baugh, Tristan Marcagiani in for our Sammy McKee. It's going to be a good 2 hours. We're going to dissect what we saw last night out of the Toronto Maple Leafs, allowing 4 third-period goals, including an empty netter.
Mm-hmm.
And they get trounced by the New York Islanders, 7-2. Where do you want to start? Because the only thing I want to say, and
I hope you have more than one thing to say.
I got a
2
few,
hours.
but calm down, everybody.
Yeah.
Like I'm seeing such an emotional roller coaster right now for Leaf fans, and they love the roster. They love the grit. They don't like it. The analytic numbers. They are better than that. We know that they're much better than the score. I will be the voice of reason to say, take a deep breath here, calm down. We're going to break what we liked and didn't like last night, but take a look around the league too, Justin. It's just not the Leafs.
No, yeah. I mean, teams lose games and sometimes by a number of goals. We've preached a number of times that the good teams have tough stretches too. We've looked at Tampa Bay and said, well, don't fully doubt them. We'll give Toronto the same benefit of the doubt. In fact, their coach wasn't even that hard on them. Sheldon didn't seem to think it was as disastrous as the final score. But, one thing in particular stands out to me as a takeaway. It's funny I say takeaway. I can't remember the Leafs giving the puck away that cleanly that often.
Well, we got Brad May coming up in about 42 minutes, former NHLer. He's going to always do a great job breaking down what he thinks and what he thought of the Leafs last night. In the second hour, Ken Reid, co-anchor of Sportsnet Central.
That's fun.
Yeah, really fun.
Yeah.
We have not had Ken on before, have we?
One of those names that we were like, wait, why have we not had Ken on before? So this is exciting for us. He's obviously a big personality.
Yes, he is. And I'm guaranteed not to be accused of being the dinosaur of this show, at least today.
But you know what? At least he owns it, right? Like he wears his Stegosaurus spines on the way into the studio. It's great.
Good. Also in the second hour, we got the NHL Players Association player poll revealed. And they have some kind of cool stuff that they talked about other than the conventional best player or best passer, best scorer. We got best shoe game, and we won't reveal that till the second hour.
I'm offended by that question. Just that it even exists. Like, what are we doing
Stop
here?
it. Stop it.
All right.
Save it. It's like our
Sounds like the pre-show.
Just like our pregame meetings.
Yeah, don't say anything interesting.
Save it. Save it for the show.
All right.
Okay. You want to talk about Sheldon Keefe's comments last night? You just mentioned moments ago that he wasn't that hard on them. And maybe that's a good thing. Maybe it's not a good thing. Mm-hmm. Let's decide that in the next little while.
Sure. Maybe we'll do the not overthinking this loss too much. Maybe we'll start with that one because it just seems to set the tone for, the 6 other clips. We got lots of clips today. Let's start with that one.
Through 2 periods, there's a lot to like about our game. That, we didn't necessarily deserve to be down 3-1 after 2 periods. So there's still a lot of good things that happened in this game here today. Obviously, the 3rd period, we don't like how we handled that, but our team's been through a lot. We've won some big hockey games against very good teams here of late, so we won't overthink this one.
Bit of a zag from the coach, isn't it?
Yeah. I don't blame him, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
That you're on an extended road trip here, and it's way too early and way too heavy to come down hard on them. And they were in a hockey game. They did have chances. They got off to a good start. They got their first goal. And let's face it here, just switch out Sorokin last night and for Samsonov and put Samsonov in the other end, and you got yourself a win. I mean, That Sorokin was off the charts.
That Gustafsson save was unbelievable. And I understand that's like a desperation, all he could do, but like Gustafsson handled the pass well, ripped it like upper part of the net. Like he did all he could.
Yeah, he could have slid the puck.
Well, that was the other option. I was
Just push it.
just slide her in the net.
Or take a, I don't, hey, listen, I'm not taking anything away from
he went to catch it and put it up under the bar.
He hit it hard.
Yeah.
He just hit it in the middle of the net.
Yeah.
Where Sorokin had one chance to, he looked like a cricket player. He got so much meat off of that.
That's a great comparison. He did. He got a big chunk of it. Did you think Samsonov was bad?
No, I did not.
Yeah, I thought he was kind of unlucky.
I think it kind of speaks volumes to what's happened to him on the road. That's all. He just can't win on the road.
Like I want the one, the Clutterbuck shot to make it 4-2. I think, you're on the hook to make a high blocker save with no.
You gave him some net there.
He did. And probably the Fashing one off the Liljegren turnover. So there's a couple I didn't love, but I thought it, all in all, I thought he was decent. Had some bad luck on tips and redirects and scrambles and stuff like that. Sheldon was more concerned about the lack of offense from his team. Do you have any thoughts about that? Should we listen to him on that and then dive in?
Yeah, for sure, because I do have some thoughts on that.
All right.
Through two periods, I thought we were playing fine. Obviously, the issue through two periods and really the whole game is you don't get enough offense. So that's, to me, is as much as you give up 6 tonight. To me, it's the offensive piece that I'm a little more concerned with. We didn't generate enough. We had some really good looks. Obviously, goalie made great saves on, but consistently we didn't challenge enough to the inside. And that's, playing against this team. If you don't do that, you're going to have a night like this.
Yeah, and I think this is kind of run side by side with new players, new style of play.
Mm-hmm.
Like when you just really truly think about the number of players that have come in and they all want to play, and I think all of them have basically.
Oh yeah.
There's an adjustment right now, and that runs just far deeper than 20 guys. It's like the whole philosophy of the Leafs has changed here, and it may take time, and we could be looking at something that could be great still,
Mm-hmm.
or it could be major surgery at the trade deadline, and you guys you ran out of time to figure it out. Those are the two things that I'm looking at. Either it's going to end up being great, or we're going to look back at that trade deadline and say, okay, major changes, and you guys didn't give yourselves enough time to adjust or adapt.
Yeah, I think you've hit on something that we should talk about, and I take some umbrage with, the idea that this is a whole different way to play for this Leafs team, or that they're going to be, they've made these changes and that they're going to somehow start playing different hockey. I think those changes were made not with the mind of being a different hockey team or playing differently, but just to tack on to the outsides a little bit of grit and tenacity and whatever. I still think they're supposed to carry the puck and hang on to the puck and do the things that have made them the Leafs.
That's if you have guys that can do both.
Yeah.
Do they? I don't know.
Yeah.
Right. And I like Lafferty.
Yeah.
And I like Acciari.
Mm-hmm.
And, Brock Nelson took that hit from Acciari.
Yeah.
He came back, did he not?
Fine hit, by the way, to me. Nelson turns back into it a bit.
Borderline.
Give him 2 for boarding.
Maybe boarding.
Yeah.
Maybe not. I don't really care. That's not my point.
Okay.
My point is if I'm a Leaf fan, isn't it nice to see a guy that's wearing blue and white
on that side of the hit?
That side of the hit, and not the one like taking it.
Picking the pieces
So
up. Yeah.
you love that.
Yep.
But is there going to be enough creativity out of Acciari or Lafferty to come in and say, like, we got a little bit of everything? Or did you sacrifice now a little bit of finesse or finish? And just think about for a second, and I'm not getting into, Pierre Engvall, but think about his style of play.
Yeah.
And then think of Acciari or Lafferty's style of play. And don't tell
Same
me
with
that
Sandin versus
and
McCabe
Sandin as well.
or Shen.
And Sandin was a puck mover. He's a skater.
Yeah.
Like, you're taking away a little bit of style and rhythm, and you've changed it with these guys.
Well, I think what we're hitting on here is the identity crisis of, okay, you have said that we're trying to change the identity of this team. Are we still the speed and skill and hang on to the puck team, or are we going to try to do it different now?
What would you say?
You know, you need to identify, you need to know what it is the coach and the team wants you to be. And to me, it would be foolish to try to be something different than you've been. But they changed so many people on the roster. I could see why guys on the team are like,
yeah. And is this where, you know, your or others' analytics kind of match?
What do you mean?
I mean, what are the numbers telling us since that trade?
Yeah, it hasn't been good.
How much has dropped? Puck possession, you know, quality chances.
Yeah, down.
Down.
Yeah.
Everything's down. Why? Because you added a few straight line players who dump and chase and don't like to hold on to the puck, don't like to cycle, you know, how many times do we see Engvall skate 1,000 miles an hour, hit the offensive zone, hash marks, turn up, circle, turn in again, circle. I'm not saying it's right or wrong, but I'm just saying that that's not Lafferty, that's not Acciari.
And on top of that, on top of maybe a lack of identity, like the lines have been different every day. We don't come in here day to day and have a clue what the framework of the lines are going to be. Like, it's a Nylander on the third line, Bunting's on the top line, he's on the fourth line, Yarncrocs on the third line, he's on the second line. You know, like, they haven't had any sort of continuity. And so I'm starting to wonder how much time is too much time before you establish your playoff look. I wrote an article today on sportsnet.ca about their D pairs and just who's going to be in the lineup for them come game 1 of playoffs, game 3 of playoffs, and so on. I don't know.
So what did you write? Who do you like? Who's in? Who's out?
I'm going to give you I'll summarize. Gustafson's out. Justin Hall's in. I got Shen and Liljegren, depending on location. Like, at home, when I can get Shen on the ice against the guys I want, in the situations I want, I like having Shen, physical games, whatever. On the road, I kind of trust Liljegren to be okay no matter who he's up against, where he's at. So, you know, that's Gustafson to me is there's too much going back at your own net. His expected goals against when he's out there, lots happens the other way. Yes, he creates a ton, but I don't think the Leafs traded for another guy who takes chances defensively. I don't see him being in the lineup for them unless there's a real need. So Hall to me is the only guy he plays. You know, we've done this on this show, but plays 20 and a half minutes per night. He's their first PK
or he's in
guy.
the stands.
Well,
one of the two.
Yeah, I know. But they lean on this guy. His defensive numbers are great. He defends the blue line well. He breaks the puck out. I can't pretend for all the people who don't like that he's not tough enough. I can't pretend he's not one of their best 6 guys. He is. So I don't know.
So the Leafs go from a focus in September to November, December, January. We're watching. We've on many shows talked about the growth of Sandin, Liljegren, and
they're going to be in Washington in the stands.
Who's better? Who's worse? Who's passed? And yes, and you're telling me in game 1, one's in Washington and one may be a healthy scratch.
Can you imagine trading for a guy like Luke Schenn and not thinking game 1 is the right time to have a guy like that, where Maroon and Perry are trying to set the tone and run around like that's Schen's time, right? Liljegren, here's my and I wrote this about Liljegren today. Here's my thing with him is that he just lacks specialization. Like, you don't want to put him on the ice when you need a goal because he's behind a number of guys in terms of being able to create, whether it's Riley or Gustafson or whatever. Yeah. He's not a defensive guy. He's 5th in PK time on ice. There's just when he doesn't have a clear use.
You know what they call those guys? The third pair.
Yeah. Well, do you want your third pair to be a guy who's not physical now? You know, this is the thing, is that he kind of fits everywhere and nowhere. I like Liljegren. He drives the play the right way. It's unfortunately I have him as their 6-7 right now.
Okay, I want to pick up a little bit on that with Gustafsson after we listened to Sheldon Keefe on the team overpassing at times and looking.
I thought at times we were just overpassing and trying to create the perfect shot, which it's not how you score on this guy. We needed to get more action, and I thought that could wear them down a little bit more, and we were unable to do that. So offensively, I thought we left a lot on the table here today. Credit to the Islanders. They competed hard. It's very, very evident that this game is very important to them, and they're fighting for their playoff lives and trying to stay in their spot and all that, and that was evident tonight. But we didn't do enough to take advantage of some of the puck time we had, but we didn't give up very much through 2 periods. The mistakes that we made, they made count, and the mistakes that they made, we didn't make them pay for the most part.
Okay, I got a ton out of that, but the thing that stood out to me was the fact that he emphasized that the game was very important to them, which suggests that he didn't think it was that important to his players.
I think that's the message he's sending to his players, is that it didn't look like it was that important to them. Because, yeah, obviously you know where the Islanders are at. They are fighting with Pittsburgh and Florida for the final 2 wild card spots. And, I don't even necessarily agree with that, though. Like, think of the goals. Like, Liljegren whiffs on that one, and they shoot it in the net. Marner puts it in Riley's boots, who tries to kick it up, and they go the other way and score. Kampf throws a grenade to Aston Reese, and they turn it over and score. Like, I just thought it was some bad turnovers, not an effort thing.
All right, let's follow up with Sheldon Keefe on those turnovers.
Those are plays we usually make. Obviously, Liljegren, that one, he just whiffs on it. I don't know if you're going to practice that. It's a play that, you need to make, and he will make. Mitch, right after scoring, gives it back. Again, it's the type of play Mitch is going to make more often than not. I don't think it's necessarily practice related. It's an execution piece. Under pressure, you got to be able to make plays in those moments.
Okay. I'll start on the Mitch Marner pass. And, yeah, it was a horrible pass. Okay?
Yeah.
But, Sheldon, it didn't begin and end with just a bad pass from Mitch Marner.
No.
You watch that play, and first of all, they just scored to make it 3-2.
Mm-hmm.
You're in the third period. You're in the game.
For sure.
You're in the game, and in many ways, you still got great momentum coming off that goal. You're in good shape. There's a couple of things that stood out for me on that. Number one is, like, Morgan, where are you going?
Yeah.
Right? And like,
the risk reward of heel pickup there is not ideal.
You're forcing the play, and you're really putting Mitch in a bad position now to give you a pass that's, even if it's on the tape, they've got 4 guys lined up on the blue line.
You're running into a brick wall with it.
You
there.
are.
Yeah.
So, Mitch in his post-game comment said, yeah, I probably should have just dumped it in. Even if Morgan had it, he would have dumped it in as well. The thing, if you really go back and look at it, the thing that stood out for me is when Mitch made the pass, he's the last guy back.
Mm-hmm.
Where are your defense? Go watch Gustafsson on that play.
Yeah.
This is the part where you go, to your point, go watch that goal, and it'll tell you everything there is to know about why you don't want him in game 1.
Oh, yeah?
He's gone.
Yeah.
He's up at the blue line, and he's actually standing still. I have no idea what he was doing. And then Morgan doesn't identify now that they're going to get 2. And watch the back check.
Yeah.
The only one that has a chance to catch Clutterbuck is Mitch. And where are your defense in a one-goal game?
Yeah, there's a play in the second period. I actually took a video of it on my phone. I meant to send it to you and Sammy last night, where there's good ozone stuff going on. The Leafs have a possession, and Gustafsson runs a scissor play and goes down. He's like below the goal line, and Riley's up at the top, and he sees an opportunity to jump down back door to get a pass. His partner's on the goal line, and he jumps down in. Nothing comes of it, but there's a time and a place to activate. Those 2 guys can't play together. They're both too offensive minded.
Yes.
There's too much that happens both ways when they're out there. It's just not a good pair.
And that's the backbreaker, right?
Sure. Yeah, well, then that's, you know what, we have a clip on that. Sheldon Keefe talked about that, about the team being dejected after that.
Like I said, we got a good start. It was a great shift by Kampf's line. They hand it off to Matthews and Martin coming out there, and those guys make a play. So all of a sudden you're right there, and then we make another mistake. And I thought, from then on, it was tough sledding for us in terms of the engagement in the game. I thought that was we were pretty dejected after that one, which that was disappointing and unfortunate.
Yeah, and Mitch looked a little animated. Did you see him frustrated after one forecheck?
No.
Yeah. So they're feeling it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, it's different last night, finally getting back to 12-6. And I know they've, done it a few times, but it just, they get behind a goal and the lines are different right away, right? Like they went back to Matthews and Marner and they went back to some of the stuff that had worked in the past. And I don't know. I feel like they've been lacking any sort of consistent look out of this team. And it's starting to, become evident that they're disjointed and not as, that chemistry stuff is real, right? Like, got to play with the same guys sometimes, have a sense for what to expect.
Okay, part of the issues with the offense was the fact that John Tavares and Willie Nylander did not contribute last night. Let's get a thought from wee Willie on his play.
Yeah, for sure. Like, I haven't been happy about my game. I've been pissed off about it. So, yeah, it happens. You just got to take yourself out of it.
You give yourself a pep talk, watch film. How do you do it?
Yeah, I mean, just go back to watching games where I play good, and get back to that kind of game, which I think was like tonight.
Well,
I thought
right
Nylander was
things.
good. Yeah, I thought he was good last night. I think Sheldon mentioned he didn't get to the inside, but I mean, he hung onto the puck, he skated, he did Nylander-like things, but Tavares didn't do much last night necessarily, and
is there a concern on Tavares?
Yeah, there is a little bit. How long's it been since you felt like he's been really dynamic or dangerous? Like some of the older guys in the team, you worry as he gets towards playoff, are you going to get the best version of Tavares, the best version of Gio, the best version of some of the older guys?
You almost think like maybe JT needs a day off or something, a game off.
Bobby McMahon hurt his knee. He's out for some time, so I don't know that they have as much flexibility to do that sort of thing. But like when they get O'Reilly back and they get Knies, you feel like they've got 13, 14 guys that are pretty good. But until then, I don't know if you can sit.
It's funny. Like they lose a game like that, and all I've heard is Matthew Knies. The pressure that's going to be on this guy to come in and kind of shore up that left side. Do
you think he'll be in? Like in playoffs, you think it's him or Zach Aston Reese?
I would imagine that
I think the answer is
he
yes.
will sign. He will get a game or two in the regular season to get his feet wet. And if he shows any signs of being able to physically handle it, I think he's in. But it would, to your point, probably be, start him. Don't throw him into the deep end here.
He should be in Aston Reese's spot, like fourth line play, because it's a good fourth line. It's not like you're playing with a bunch of pluggers, like it's Acciari and Camp or something like that. So
I just can't recall. Not that I followed every team closely with their college kids, but this one's going to feel like, man, oh man, they're putting some weight on this kid's shoulders to come in and help.
Well,
no training camp, nothing, just in the heat of the
playing competitive
playoffs.
hockey. Yeah,
I know, but it's not NHL.
No. You know who led, I want to say a college conference in scoring? Zach Aston Reese. So just for context on like this kid's points, you're not guaranteed to lead a college conference in scoring and come out and be an NHL star, right? Like Zach Aston Reese has been in the NHL for 6 years and he's a fourth line player.
So I'm watching last night. He's got Aston Reese out on like one of the last shifts of the game, and he's like blowing the zone as if he's going to go and make the score 7-4.
I mean, the guy scored pre-NHL. So did you.
But I knew at the end of the day, like I'm not going out there to score a goal late.
Yeah.
It's over. Just stay in your zone until the puck's out, man.
Funny the difference between him and Acciari looking at like, okay, we're down 6-2, 7-2. Here's what I need to do to help us get back in it. And Acciari is like, I'm going to go fight Matt Martin. And Aston Reese is like, I'm going to stretch for a pass. By the way, thank you, courtesy of Matt Martin for not beating the life out of Acciari last night. He had him in a pretty vulnerable spot.
It was a weird fight for me.
It was a weird fight.
Yes.
Like, was it like a super courtesy? Like, I'll give you one here?
Yes. It did not come off right for me. It's like you hit our player, a very important player in Brock Nelson.
Do you think that's what it was? I felt like it was like Acciari being late in the game, needing to show some chutzpah for the team.
I think Matt Martin felt obligated to go send a message to a guy that he thought got hit from behind.
And then, are they pals or something?
I
he didn't
don't
seem
know.
to want to really hit
and
him, which
that's that was my feel. I could be totally out to left field here, and maybe we're going to hear Acciari challenged him, but there's no upside for Noel Acciari to just challenge him like Matt Martin, who's twice his size.
No, but you've been on the bench when your team's down 4 and your coach is going, does anyone have a pulse in here? And that's like one of the things you do to show that you still care, coach.
Maybe you're right. I don't know. I didn't feel it. I think it had more to do with the hit.
Yeah, okay.
It was tied towards the hit.
Yeah.
And if Matt was so upset with Acciari hitting him from behind, then, finish him off. Don't go halfway and pat him on the back for showing up.
That was as polite a fight as I've seen.
Really polite.
Yeah.
But Matt's a nice guy.
He is. But yeah, I still generally want to punch someone in that situation. Couple of notes from that game. That was the first time this season Toronto has surrendered 7 or more goals. And the Leafs had 19 giveaways in the game to New York in that game. So that was a theme. Now the Samsonov thing. Is this a situation he is not going on the rest of the road trip with the Maple Leafs? Joe Woll is going to join them. So you've got Matt Murray going to Florida. Welcome to the people who are joining us on 590, by the way.
They're Blue Jay watching?
Probably.
Or listening?
I don't know. Welcome anyway, whatever you're doing before. But yeah, about Samsonov, who we were just discussing. He has gone home to be there for the birth of his child.
Did you hear his post-game clips?
No. What do you have to say?
Yeah, he just kind of said, I'm going home and I got bigger things to worry about than hockey.
Better things to do than run with you fools?
Yes. Islanders were really good and I'm going home.
Yeah. Well, tough one to sit on for him, but I understand he's got bigger things to do. So they go to Florida tomorrow night, and then Saturday night they're in Carolina, and then the next day they're in Nashville. So they play in 3 cities in 4 nights starting tomorrow. Make that 4 cities in 6 nights. So that's a tough stretch for the Leafs.
Well, and they're coming off a loss as well as the Florida Panthers to Philadelphia last night.
Talk about teams that want it. Like Florida's the ultimate team here trying to get in who's on the outside. They're actually in the second wild card spot right now, 1 point ahead of Pittsburgh with an extra game played than Pittsburgh. So these are huge points for them. They're going to get a great effort from that Panthers team.
So I think we're all in agreement that Samsonov was not horrible last night, but he gave up 6 goals.
It's that crack in the door that Matt Murray in these conversations.
But Matt's given up 4 goals a game too.
Every game, I know.
So how much can you say that they're great or they're doing well when you're still giving up a lot of goals?
Yeah. I guess you just hope Tampa Bay keeps losing to teams like Montreal. See that? They lose 3-2.
I had suggested maybe about a week and a half ago that they should sneak in Joseph Woll. You see anything between as early as Florida?
I think he'll play.
Do you think he'll play over Matt Murray?
If Samsonov hasn't had his kid yet and he's at home and they got 3 games in the next 4 days on the road, they're not going to make Matt Murray play 3 times. We're definitely going to see Woll. So, could Woll come in, pitch a shutout, and make everyone go, should we maybe see him one more time just in case?
Florida's still one of the highest scoring teams in the league, are they not?
According to my fancy metrics, they're the second best offensive team in the league.
Yeah.
Behind Edmonton.
Not sure
if
I want to put Joseph in there Thursday.
Well, listen, I don't want to put Matt Murray in either. So
no, I think you need to go back to Matt Murray on Thursday.
Yeah, well, you definitely do. I mean, you're trying to get him ready, and he's supposed to be your guy. So,
And what is Samsonov's record on the road? Is it one game under 500?
now it is 6-7-1. Yeah,
They
18-2 at home.
don't you have to win a few times on the road just to kind of feel better about yourself?
No,
No?
you won't know what to feel better about yourself. Yeah, but like, can they just do a goalie rotation? Matt Murray's pretty good on the road. I don't know. It's enough to make you a little bit uncomfortable.
What do they got after Florida?
After Florida, they go to Carolina on Saturday night, and then they'll be the very next day in Nashville at 6 p.m. That is one hell of a turnaround. Carolina to Nashville, probably no morning skate. Just first time they'll be at the rink is 4 o'clock on Sunday. So,
Little pet peeve of mine last night is at 5-2. I'm thinking the game's over. Pulling the goalie. I don't want to give up any more goals.
oh,
I don't.
No,
I don't.
No, I totally disagree there.
Why?
Are you just gonna punt on the game?
Not punt on the game,
Yeah,
but
try.
no, it's don't give up. It's just you go. Well, first of all, here's the other thing that bothered me is that like every time I see John Tavares, he's losing a draw. Okay.
Yeah, but his numbers in the year aren't bad.
I know, but last night it just wasn't working. So it's 5-2, and you're gonna go have him take the draw. Go get Kampf first of all. John couldn't have lost that draw any faster, and the puck couldn't have ended up in our empty net any faster.
Yeah.
I'd rather lose 5-2 than 6-2 or 7-2. I'm sorry.
I mean,
I would.
I mean, I get it.
I
but
would.
it-
Uncle on giving up goals. They bother me. Giving up goals bothers me.
I love it. It's, you're 6 minutes left in the game. If you're going to come back on, score 3 in the Islanders, you got to do it then. Make your push. If you don't score, then, give them the 6th one and see you later. And that's essentially what happened. What did you make of the draw? So Tavares, the 4-on-4 goal at the start of the second where Parisi taps it in on the back door.
Yeah.
I mean, coverage mishaps.
Are you more on the camp of that's McCabe or that's Tavares?
It's Tavares for me. Initially off the draw, I'd rather him just stick with his guy, right? 4-on-4, you just stick with Pajot, who wins the draw, and then McCabe would clearly know his guy's coming down the wall. He could hand him off. I don't know. I just thought Tavares was not his best night in his return to Long Island.
No, and he's a sensitive guy.
Yeah.
And that's just going to be one of those he could
They had a
be in the
straight up
league.
JT sucks chant last night.
He could be in the league for another, 5 years, and every time he's going to go back in there, it's going to feel horrible.
Yeah. Yeah, that one resonated. So we do have one more clip, but it's not on this game. It's on Connor McDavid talking about last night. Shohei Ohtani versus Mike Trout.
Are we going there?
Are we ready to have that discussion? Or should we bang through the rest of the Leaf
let's finish
stuff?
the Leaf stuff.
Okay.
And then I definitely want to get into that because you know where it's going with the World Cup of Hockey and the Olympics and all of that. So I definitely want to get into that in the second hour as we slowly get towards closing off the show. One more thought here on no TJ Brody last night. And
you give up 7?
Well, maybe that guy quietly doesn't get enough credit since signing with Toronto, just being nothing stands out with him, but nothing is glaring on mistakes after mistakes after mistakes. And I thought it was a showing last night of what he's probably meant to that blue line.
Yeah. I think by some of the numbers, when you dig around, he is in the top 5 last time I checked at defending the blue line. Like just in terms of rushes coming down at him and him denying entry. He's got that long stick. Like he never pounds anyone, but he just doesn't let people in the zone easily. And yeah, you don't really appreciate that sort of thing till it's gone, which I wanted to bring this up with you. It's something I think you and I have disagreed upon in the past. When I wrote this article in the Leafs D, there's 4 guys that I have in the lineup in the playoffs, and it's Riley, it's Brody, it's Giordano, and it's McCabe. And we're trying to figure out the pairs and who should play the most ice time. Can Giordano play second pair minutes? Because I think he's at least one of their 4 best defensemen. We're talking about him as he's one of the 4 locks. Like, He's playing 19 and a half minutes.
Yeah. I don't want to run that night after night after night. He just does not have the legs. He doesn't have the quickness. He doesn't have the agility. He's got the heart. He's got the brain.
Yeah.
You know,
can he get you through one round like that? And then you say, okay, we'll readjust and figure out what else we can do.
If everyone else is going, I think you could probably find a way to get away with that, but there's no longevity in that.
Like Gio McCabe as sort of a shutdown.
I don't necessarily like that you're in the last dozen games and he's sat all but one game out. I don't understand that.
Mm-hmm. You know, it'll be interesting to see how that goes the rest of the way. Like I've said, I want to see what their playoff lineup looks soon. They got 12 games left at least. How about after this road trip? I'm going to dig in on that.
But
I'm ready to see their playoff lineup as of March 29th.
As Brad May will tell us in about 7 minutes, it's not good.
Well, it's not good.
That you're asking me if Gio can play top 4 minutes every other night in the Stanley Cup playoffs, when that spot should have been to either a Liljegren or Sandin. That's what the development was for 4.5 years.
Yeah.
And that's a tough one to ask.
That neither of those guys took a step in a way that made you
and
go,
now you got to go back to a 40-year-old and say, you play for us 20 minutes a night and be really good and solid. That's a tough one.
Because, you know, I mentioned those 4 names are my 4 locks, and I mentioned Hall, you know, being in there for me personally. You know, and a little more fluctuation after that. But every time I come to this conversation where I'm like, he's one of your 4 best. You know, how does he not end up playing one of your top 4 minutes? But I understand his age and you don't trust his ability to continue that. Man, it'd be tough over an intense 7-game series. Seeing if he could handle Kucherov and crew in Game 7 if he's a part of your shutdown pair.
Well, you got a few challenges with a few people, and that conversation can be thrown at Gustafsson and it can be thrown at Luke Schenn too. Like I think they're undecided on what Luke Schenn's going to bring them.
Yeah.
Are you locked in to say that this guy is strong at 10 to 12 minutes? Or are you going to push the envelope and go 15, 17? On some nights, you may not have any other choice.
Yeah.
But what's your thought here on where ultimately Luke Schenn fits in and how many minutes you're going to ask him to play?
That's the tough part here is that, like, the guys they brought in as D-depth, as their depth guys, you know, they're kind of one-dimensional guys, right? And you have to decide which dimension you need that day. Is it, you know, Schenn, who is never going to put offense first. He's going to, you know, think about defense and toughness and physicality and all that. Or is it breaking the puck out and doing all those sorts of little things? So it is situational. I you know, it's possible injuries make some of these decisions for them, but
did one final note on the offense. Did kind of Yarncroc come back down to earth a little bit, or should we still pencil him in for first team All-Star?
You're right. Like when he doesn't shoot it in the net, I didn't notice him. I didn't notice if he was in the game last night.
He's not driving lanes open.
Do you know how long it's been since Kerfoot scored?
No, we had this conversation a month and a half ago, and it was like at 20 something.
It's 25 now, 25 games.
So he went a long period of time. And then I think he got an empty net goal. And then now it's a really long time again.
Yeah. And he's played with very good players. Like, it's in his head more than I've never seen anyone have as much ability as him, this snake bit. Like, one hit off Matthew's knee, one went off Lafferty's God knows what yesterday. Like, sometimes pucks just go in. Nothing can go in off him.
Can we petition to have his game-winning shootout goal in Ottawa count?
As a real goal?
Yes.
Probably. He looked genuinely surprised by it after he scored. He's like, ooh.
Flex seal.
It crossed the line.
Yeah.
All right, we're going to take a quick break here, and we're going to bring back Mayday. Brad May, former National Hockey League player with the Toronto Maple Leafs, Stanley Cup champion. He'll break it all down for us after the break. Nick Kypreos, Justin Bourne, Real Kyper and Bourne.
is Real Kyper and Bourne on Sportsnet 590 The Fan.
A reminder, in the second hour, Ken Reid, co-host of Sportsnet Central, will join us. Best-selling author, too, like you.
Hey, and like you. All of us have that in common.
Oh, yeah. Looking forward to that. In the meantime, let's bring in Brad May, someone very familiar to our show. Always a pleasure to bring you on, Mayday. How are you?
I'm doing great. How are you guys doing?
Yeah, we're hanging in there. You know the roller coaster here in Toronto when it comes to the Leafs, right? Plan the parade or, let's bail on them. It's one of the two, isn't it?
It's crazy. You know what? Obviously, history has been tough on the Toronto Maple Leafs, but this is the time of year. I know it's down the stretch, but they put themselves in a good position to, be where they are currently in second place. And, the last 10 games, they've been 500. They've kind of been muddling, but you need full commitment, a buy-in from all players. And they've had some passengers, but at the end of the day, I don't think they're in trouble here at all. Obviously, yesterday was a tough one, but they have some games that they can win coming up, but they also have some real desperate teams, and tomorrow would be one of them, the Florida Panthers. They play them 3 times in the next 12.
Yeah, before we get into that, you use the word muddling, and it's not just the Leafs, but I'm looking around the league too, and there some teams who should be desperate as the Islanders looked last night. It's just not there. Is there anything that you remember in your day as a player? I'm kind of baffled at this, but there's something to be said about a dozen games to go and maybe some guys physically, mentally, emotionally tired.
Well, you know what? I would say, yeah, it's probably more mental. Listen, these guys are conditioned. They're physical, great athletes. I'm sick and tired of hearing anybody that says they're physically tired. Tired's a state of mind, and they got to be, at the end of the day, you got to somehow muster up the energy to play, 60 minutes or whatever the breakdown of that would be. But down the stretch, a lot of bad teams win games. And because they're almost like a night off before, 3 weeks from now, nobody wants to get hurt blocking a shot and breaking a foot 10 games before the playoffs. The actual passion and the commitment to do whatever it takes kind of wanes when you play these sub 500 teams. And, I just see across the league that Vancouver Canucks are dominating. They're playing great. Coyotes are winning games. Buffalo Sabres look good every once in a while. These are all teams that are out of a playoff spot. I don't think you have to look into that. However, you can't turn it on like a switch. And the Toronto Maple Leafs, they have to find a way to win these tight games that they're in and can't let them blow out.
Mayday, do you think there's anything to the idea of like a team identity crisis where they're just not exactly sure how they want to play? Like they added these gritty guys, a lot of intangibles. They can dump, chase, hit, do all those sort of things. Before they were this puck possession team, whatever. Right now they look a little bit disjointed, kind of stuck between these two identities and trying to figure out what they really are.
Well, listen, the last 10 games have certainly spoke of that, 500 hockey. If you don't know who you are today, after a lengthy season, you're in trouble.
Yeah.
And they better figure that out. If that's the case in that locker room, I wouldn't be confident. That's not a good thing. You add some players, but those players just bring the energy that they have to bring. The other players don't have to change their game if they're not willing to, right? If that's all they have. But you got to know your players after 6 months of hockey. And if there's question marks, that's not a good thing. But I think this team is poised and ready. They're thinking ahead down the line. And guess what? They're not in the present. They're not in the moment. And if you're not playing like that, you can't win consistently. So they have to get their focus back immediately. And they're on the next few games on the road. Not going to be easy. They got some tough games, but maybe that's what they need.
We're talking to Brad May, Stanley Cup champion with the Anaheim Ducks, former NHLer. Mayday, you mentioned adding players after a lengthy season, but we are talking about almost a third of your roster. And is it just added energy, or is it a different style that maybe some that have been here a lot longer are trying to adapt to? And is it taking longer here than what Leaf fans would have hoped?
Well, I guess time will tell. They're in a good position. They're not going to catch the Boston Bruins. We haven't thought that for many months, obviously, right from the outset of the season, quite honestly. They're in a good position. They've got a dozen games to get themselves prepared. They have to all get on the same page. I think it's just a buy-in. It's a mental, it's a focus element with this group. And at the end of the day, the top players are playing with the same guys, right? Your top lines are playing, offensively sound hockey, all of that. Who cares what happens on the bottom six? Those guys were all new. Well, they have to figure it out how to play the way they're capable of playing. But at the end of the day, they lost last night, and they had a good start. I mean, they were in the game. A few mistakes hurt them, cost them. But the one thing I did hear out of Sheldon Keefe was he was concerned about their offense. Don't be concerned about your offense when the whole mandate is to be able to win these tight games and play better defense and not make those bonehead errors, at the blue line, back in your net, a giveaway that was just a lack of focus, plenty of time to get rid of the puck on Liljegren. These are mental errors, and you got to get yourself focused.
What did you think? I don't know if you saw the Acciari hit on Nelson or the fight on Martin. Did you see how that played out last night, perchance?
I missed it exactly how it happened. Saw the fight, but
yeah,
I did.
Strange fight, hey?
I enjoy the spontaneous combustion, that passion that you see like that. It's energy building, or it certainly should be. Obviously, for New York, they got a little bit of the momentum from that.
Just one thought on Matt Martin too. There had to have been an element, either he knew that Acciari may have been out with a concussion, or
that's interesting,
or Acciari maybe told him, maybe
don't punch me in the head.
Yeah, just not the face. Not the face.
Body shots only.
Yeah, body shots only, not the face.
Well, yeah, guys, it is amazing. Listen, if a player has a concussion or isn't quite capable of playing or fit to play, then he should not be in the lineup. The moment he puts his skates on, he's as fair game as everyone else, or certainly in my opinion he is. At the end of the day, that's nobody else's problem but the player that's actually laced his own skates up if he's not prepared or he shouldn't be playing. So that to me is a moot point.
Yeah.
I don't buy that excuse whatsoever.
How about, are you buying for the Toronto Maple Leafs that, yes, they're 500 in their last 10 games, but the Tampa Bay Lightning are struggling? I know you're not feeling the tired excuse or whatever it may be for Tampa, but they're reeling a little bit here, and Leafs fans are kind of digging that.
Yeah, absolutely. And if they had played harder, or if Toronto, listen, the gap is tight, right?
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, there's a lot of teams that are in the same situation that aren't playing great hockey right now. And it's all a matter of focus down the stretch. I would imagine, and I would almost bet my house on that Toronto's going to get on a roll. They have some winnable games after this road trip. But this road trip's a big one. Florida is fighting for their lives, and they play Florida 3 times. What is that? That's 25% of the games left against the Florida Panthers. So, listen, they're fighting for their lives. Toronto better be ready. And, again, I really do believe it's about focus. It's about, of course, playing to the team system. But each player knows how they have to play and what they need to do to be successful. And no more excuses. Just get the job done.
I'm watching goals go through Vasilevsky in Tampa Bay that I in a longer stretch than I've ever seen before. Yet, I don't care if he gives up 4 a game and they lose every single game from here on in. That team will feel very good about Vasilevsky in game 1, just based on the stock that he's built. I'm not sure Leafs feel the same way about their goaltending. And Samsonov has been terrific, but all of it's come at home here, Brad. So tell me, how do the Leafs now? Is there enough time for the Leaf players to feel great about their goaltending going into Game 1? I mean, I think about you and your career, whether it was Dominic Hasek or Jaguar in Anaheim, and you didn't have to think twice about getting great goaltending.
No, and it's such an important factor. Like, truly, if you know your goaltender or believe that your goaltender is going to make the save, certainly at the opportune time, I'm a faster player, or I can cheat. I can anticipate where that puck is headed, not where it is at current, in the moment. The bottom line is teams are faster when they trust their goaltender. It's easier to break out of your zone because those hard rim plays are automatic. The tape-to-tape passes. Toronto wasn't sharp. They haven't been that sharp over the last 10 games. They show flashes of brilliance for sure, but goaltending makes a difference that way. And you're right. The Tampa Bay Lightning, they have utmost confidence in Vasilevsky. And I think Toronto, we're still asking ourselves, who's going to be the number one? I think it is Samsonov. But really, we're having that conversation 70 games into the season.
Oh, yes.
That could be problematic.
Well, I mean, a number of things that the Leafs are leaning on is that one of the two goalies is going to be fine, but, you don't want to spend 2 games being wrong about which one you go with. And then the other one is that Matthew Knies is going to be able to step in and be of some value to them. What are your thoughts on a guy stepping into the NHL for the first time a couple days before playoffs and ability to contribute?
Well, I like that. I mean, but we're talking about stopping the puck. I mean, that's quite a transition from the goaltending to, the emergence of a new player. And by the way, teams that go on and have unbelievable playoff runs, a lot of times a college player or a young junior player, somebody new from the minors steps into the lineup and brings that energy. So I think it's a good opportunity, but again, 70 games in the season, and if this is really what you're actually looking for to get a spark, you got problems if that's the case.
Did you make the NHL out of training camp? Did you get called up from Rochester? I'm just wondering about your experience to kind of come into an environment and all of a sudden the lights are brighter, there's media, there's TV cameras. I just imagine what it would feel like for Matthew Knies to come in a playoff environment on a team that has the biggest media market in the world.
Well, I'll give you an example of a player. So my career, I say fortunate, but my career started in Buffalo out of training camp, and I didn't play in the minors, Nick. So
you didn't?
I didn't. So I came right from junior.
Oh, you're one of those guys, spoon-fed.
I always like telling people that too. But you know what? I'll tell you a story about a young player that did come out of junior. I was playing for the Colorado Avalanche the year after the lockout in 2004, the first season back. We faced the Dallas Stars. We finished 5th in our conference. They were 4th. So we faced Dallas. We went in and we beat Dallas in 5 games. And a young player named Wojtek Wolski came in from junior from I believe it was the North Bay, Brampton or North Bay Battalion, whatever team he played for there. And he lit it up. He got on a line with Joe Sakic. On the power play, he scored, I want to say he scored 3 or 4 goals in that first round against the Dallas Stars. And we actually, rolled over Dallas. And they were the favorite going into that playoff series, or, certainly from their record. A young player can bring that energy and excitement. And you know what? The other players, they're not jealous at that time of the year. They just want to win. And you can focus on doing what you do. But if a Matthew Knies can come in and actually have success, immediately, that is a shot in the arm. And that's a big bonus. But I don't know if you want to bet the farm on that. But there's no doubt he's a blue chip prospect.
I skate with Voltek on Thursday mornings.
Oh, do you?
Yeah. My line's me, him, and the Big E.
Come on.
Oh, yeah.
My college roommate changed his number because he liked watching Wolski so much. He was a big Wolski fan.
Oh, my God. He's so good, too,
so
right now. I'm
talented,
like, I can't keep up with you, bud.
Hey, Nick, this guy, just the same thing. Young players, they have the ability to not understand what's fearful or fearsome to them. You know, I think of Wojtek. He just played. He played because he loved it, but he also is coming off a year where he's very confident.
Yes.
And the same would be for Matthew Knies. So many NHL players, we play to survive. We play to not make the mistake. We play to eliminate time and space from the other guy. And if we're even at the end of the match, that's how you become a long-time journeyman pro. But if you really want to make a difference, you got to take chances. And sometimes young players, you know, thrust in these situations, like a Cole Caulfield in Montreal a few years back. You know what? Just go play. Shoot the puck from everywhere. Where you and I, Nick, if we shot the puck from outside the dots and it didn't hit the net, we're being sat in the bench, right? You know, if you miss it on the far side,
yeah,
you know, and the puck rims around the boards, all of a sudden you're on your ass on the bench. And young players, they're not fearful of that because they've had confidence and they've been playing unencumbered for so long that they don't have that scar tissue mentally. And I think that's an issue. So I like the you know, I say emergence, but of a young player, if he's good enough to play, I'd welcome that every day, every year. But I'm not betting the farm that that's going to happen, and you know, for success.
Brad, last one for me. You know, in trying to sort everything out for the Leafs, it's obviously the new guy, it's goaltending, it's all these different things. One of the things that may happen is they may go 11 forwards and 7D. Do you have any thoughts on how that can work, should work, and if they should do it?
Listen, I'm actually, I look at these teams, play your best players, look at the, you know, what certainly when you come down to the playoffs and you get, right now they're playing the Tampa Bay Lightning, right? Depending on who Tampa Bay is playing and how you can match up best, if it's 8 defensemen, play them with, you know, with 10 forwards. At the end of the day, I want to say the top, you know, 20 to 24 minutes are going to be eaten up by your top 7 players on the, you know, forwards, you know, maybe 8 players. Your bottom 6 are going to be playing spot duty, or at least 10 minutes. You know, I'm actually not worried. If I have Mitch Marner and I have a healthy O'Reilly and I have players that I can actually move throughout the lineup, listen, double shift the guys that are playing and playing well. And then it's all about matchups. 8 defensemen, 7 defensemen. You know what? If Tampa's on a roll, guess what? You can actually shut them down a little bit. I'm a guy, I take chances on playing more defense if they're more capable.
You know, regardless of 12 or 6 or 11 or 5, you know, Mayday, I don't remember too many players that I played with, at least forwards, that either they didn't know who they wanted to play with or who they thought would best fit them as line mates. Everybody knew in their mind who they wanted to play with or who they thought that could bring out the best of their game. Leaf players show up every day and they have no idea who's playing with who. It's just, as I refer to them as the bingo bango balls of the head coach, right? Just pull out a number and put them together. But, you know, generally, am I right to say that we are creatures of habit? We don't like surprises. We don't want to come into a practice and guess what jersey we're wearing here. How important is it for Sheldon to lock in some lines here?
Hey, again, 70 games in, we're having this discussion. Yeah. We've got problems if that's an issue. Bottom line is, as a player, and I'm speaking solely from that perspective, there's nothing worse than driving the practice between games, not knowing who you're actually practicing with, whether you're wearing a yellow jersey or a brown jersey or whatever the colors are, right? The color scheme. The worst. The top 2 lines, for the most part, know who they're playing with, or certainly know that they're going to get the looks and get those touches on, you know, practice situations, whether it's power play, penalty kill. For the 3rd and 4th line players, if you don't know who your 3rd line is, the best 3 defensive players with energy that are going to change momentum and change the complexion of a game. If we're worried about that 70 games into the year, that's problematic to me. But for the 4th line guys, and the 4th line, of course, looks different today in today's hockey than it once did. But you know what? If these players are worried about reading between the lines and not just worried about getting there, playing, practicing, doing the best job they can with excitement, the best time of their life, that's an issue for me. So they better figure that out if that's there in that locker room. And you know what? The leadership group should actually talk, right? The players, if this is an issue, the players have to go and talk to the coaches. Somebody has to recognize that, because that is a problem.
Oh my gosh, there's some practices you'd walk in, and when there was a legit top 6 guy, all of a sudden find himself with like a green color
Everyone's
that's
like,
for the
"Woohoo!"
fourth line, and you could see him sink right into the dressing room, and you knew he was done the rest of the day, right?
You ever seen anyone actually change color in practice? Like the coach says, "You two switch jerseys," because I've seen that.
You know, the worst part is when that guy actually looks like that, because he's been put on your line.
Oh,
Then you're like,
great.
hey, listen, that's when you want to, thump your teammate. So it's like, wake up. That's where body language is everything in the team atmosphere, in the locker room. And that energy is infectious. And I'll tell you what, infectious positively, and it can erode the confidence of a team if you get a couple bad apples in a locker room being selfish.
Hey.
Not a good look, guys. But worse, if the other guys are upset that they have to play with you.
Body language never lies.
It doesn't. That's the ultimate lens to character, I believe.
But you never had that problem because you were always locked in with Patty LaFontaine in Buffalo.
Until Patty showed up and he looked green and didn't want to practice with me.
Hey, Mayday, great stuff, pal. Really appreciate it.
You guys are the best. Thank you for having me.
Thanks so much.
Brad May. So Willie Nylander started on the third line.
Yeah. Oh, he loved that as a third liner. Like, I get built today. Throw it to him. Let him do the work.
How long did that last?
Nah, not very long.
Right?
Yeah.
And he's got to get him going.
Yeah.
And I appreciate that he said all the right things. He didn't bury him last night, but this guy either produces or he's no good.
Last night, the Leafs had 31 shot attempts for when he was on the ice and 8 against when Willie was on the ice. He was by far the most dominant in that regard. So, yeah. I mean, they played in the Islanders' end when he's out there. He didn't get any points, but I thought he was a more effective version of himself.
They've got pressure. Him and JD have pressure to alleviate Marner and Matthews. They're not going anywhere without those two guys.
Somewhere between Ryan O'Reilly and Tavares and William Nylander, they're going to need, 8 goals. They're going to need a real significant contribution from that group.
I don't know the answer to this question. Is Ryan O'Reilly with them right now? Is he traveling with them? Is he skating with them?
Don't know.
I would hope that he is.
Just being a part of it all. And
100%.
Yeah, I imagine it. Also, though, I wonder what his situation like in terms of getting settled here in Toronto.
Yeah,
is he still in a hotel? Does he need to play? Like Jake McCabe,
it's important.
His family's moving up. He's looking for a house. He's still moving in.
They're missing.
Yeah, no, you got to be a part of it, 100%.
They're missing key times for Ryan O'Reilly to be a leader right now.
And
they,
yeah,
like last night, they were missing one.
Yeah, they were.
There was no presence of leadership last night, and we know who their leaders are, and will be down the road here. But last night is one of those games where I think Ryan O'Reilly could have settled them down a little bit.
Yeah, you're right. And I don't know if they would have left Long Island last night and headed to Florida post-game. But, today they're sitting in a room somewhere and Keefe is talking about what they want to do differently. Like, you want a guy who hasn't been a part of the team taking in all those sort of lessons.
All right, we're going to take a quick break, and we're going to get Ken Reid, co-host of Sportsnet Central. He's going to join us, best-selling author. This guy does it all, and he's got his opinions, and you're not going to want to miss them. That plus more JB and yours truly after the break.
Real Kyper and Bourne on Sportsnet 590 The Fan.
Real excited for our next guest. I was a little disappointed when Ivanka said she wouldn't come on our show, but I was thrilled to hear that this guy would fill in for Ivanka. Let's welcome in Ken Reid, author of some amazing books out there. I want to get into that, Ken, and of course, Sportsnet Central, man. How are you?
I'm good, boys. Always honored to fill in for Ivanka, and I have my own Wojtek Wolski story if you want to hear it.
Right off the bat,
Let's
baby,
go.
right off.
Well, it's funny during the pandemic, right, the early parts of it when you could still get ice. My little guy and a guy that you play hockey with on Thursday called me up. We got our little guys out there, and Wojtek Wolski showed up with his little guy. So
Come on.
there you go. And I saw Wojtek at a Leafs game last week, and I said, buddy, you're everywhere all the time. He's always traveling. And he's like, yeah, I'm going to Colorado to ski tomorrow. So that's my Wojtek Wolski connection. Beauty guy.
What a life.
Nice. And how many Wolski's hockey cards do you have?
You know what? There might be one or two hanging around, but Kyper, I got way more of yours because I was into this. I don't have much stuff post 1992, so I got lots of Nick Kypreos, very few Wojtek Wolskis, and if I was an East Coast Hockey League collector, I might have a Bourne in there, but I never got down to that level yet.
So, how did it start? The hockey cards, and then eventually writing a book on them.
Yeah, I guess same as any other Canadian kid, right? Collected hockey cards. Bourne, as you know, I got a ton of your dad. I think I even gave you some for your little guy.
You're the best.
But yeah, thanks. You can keep saying that. Put that on a loop. Yeah, I just like any other Canadian kid, you know, I spent my allowance on hockey cards, and I grew up in a small town, so the only real way to see the guys play was on Saturday night, or if you want to know what they look like, if it was a Vancouver Canuck, you had to get a hockey card of Harold Snaps. So I just got into them. I devoured the stats, and I devoured the fact on the back that it said Derek Smith of the Buffalo Sabres is one of the most eligible bachelors on the Sabres. I remember that. Pat Hickey's cartoon on his 78 O-Pee-Chee was Pat drives a big Jeep in the off season. So Tom Fergus had 2 German Shepherds. So I just devoured them. That's where I got my hockey information. And then when value took off, I kind of had a lot of cards I could unload because I had tons of doubles. And, you know, like a lot of other guys, I discovered these things called girls as I got older. So the hockey cards went away. And then I got married, so then a girl becomes your boss, and then you don't have much fun. So I got back into hockey cards.
The circle of life. Yeah, no, I'm familiar with how
Lion King.
I did just take my daughter to Disney Immersive, so that may be on my mind.
Oh, did ya?
Yeah, it's okay. So what's the deal? I see you like on Instagram stuff. You're opening up fresh packs of cards from 1990, whatever. How does that happen?
You know what? There's packs everywhere. So if you go to like Chesswood Arena and Westwood, they have a machine that sells old packs. So whenever my little guy plays there, I'll buy a pack. And I got tons of old wax packs around the house and stuff like that. And I opened one the other day, Kyper, and honestly, you were in there. It was your rookie card, the 90 O-Pee-Chee. I love that story you told me, Kyper, about the first time you saw it was when you got off a bus or something. You guys were on the road?
Chicago. Yeah. And we had pulled into the Drake, and for the life of me, I'll never understand like a 9-year-old kid at 3 a.m. waiting for the team bus to get his hockey card signed.
Yeah.
And I'm coming off the bus, and kid goes, "Can you sign a hockey card for me?" And I'm like, "I don't have one." He goes, "Yes, you do." And I said, "Hey, kid, it's 3 a.m. in the morning. I'm going to bed." Yeah. He says, "No, you have one." And he shows it to me. It's the O-Pee-Chee card.
I love it.
And you would have thought I just won the lottery, man. I'm
Just
like,
take it and run?
No, I gave him $20 and then I ran.
Did you really?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. I said, "Here, kid, here's $20. You ain't getting this card back. Thanks a lot."
No way.
You could probably sell it for 19 today.
And honest to God, it was like Christmas. I couldn't stop looking at it.
Yeah.
No.
It was like an out-of-body experience seeing yourself on an O-Pee-Chee hockey card that still smelled like bubble gum.
Beautiful. I mean, all the guys I talked to for my books on them, they're all, you know, everyone always asks ex-players, you guys know this, what was your welcome to the NHL moment? Well, for a lot of guys, getting the card is validation. Like, I'm legit now, right?
You know what's for me, and it's not
when you had to earn them, you know?
For sure. And it's not quite that on that level, but for my era, just being in the farm system was in the video games when your player could get called up and you could play NHL 2008 and I could get called up to the Islanders. I was in the system. That was just mind blowing to me. My brother sending me screenshots of that. That was a good time for me.
See, that's awesome, Bourne, because that's like the validation for like the digital generation.
It's like I exist.
Like, that's awesome.
Yeah,
that's cool. So if I had a video game with me on it, I'd play it all the time. That'd be awesome.
So listen, we want to get your thoughts on a few things because, we love watching you and Ivanka every night, but I get a sense that you could say so much more on your highlights, but you just don't have time. It's a whole show here. So now you got some breathing room here. So we want to get your thoughts on, the Leafs, the changes that they've made, and maybe we're not seeing them, come to fruition just yet here, but your thoughts on the changes that they made, and then unfortunately not seeing the results last night.
Yeah, well, I loved the trade for O'Reilly because you need a little grit, you need some veteran guy who's been there, done that. I love that trade. Unfortunately, he got injured, but he'll be back. I love the trade for Shen because you need a defense man, M-A-N, not just a defenseman. You need somebody that plays a little rough around the edges. So I love that, Bourne. I like that stuff. Kipper, I like that stuff. Like I texted Fuda last night after one of the Islanders' goals. I go, how many Leafs does it take to fish for the puck before an Islander scores in the blue paint? Apparently the answer is 4. Yeah, the answer is 4. So I'm like, hit somebody for God's sakes. Like they still just don't have that playoff type of game, I don't think. Maybe that'll change in the playoffs. But I love those two trades. I heard Mayday on. It's kind of weird. We're still talking about a goalie 70 games in, so yeah, I mean, if I'm looking at them going up against Tampa Bay, the first place I judge is in the crease. The second place I judge is on the blue line. Advantage Tampa in both spots. So I think the Leafs are in top again. But I'll give Dubas credit. I think he went a little bit outside of his playbook on a couple of those trades. So I think that takes courage. I like the trades. I just don't know if they got the horses to take out Tampa.
Still skeptical there. That's fair. The question I've had with people is like, if the grit isn't in the core, core guys who are going to play most of the game, can you tape it on enough around it? Does Tampa struggling a little bit at least give you a little bit more hope for the Leafs?
I think it gives you hope, but I also think it's kind of like, okay, been there, done that, boys. Let's gear up. So, I don't think they know that their season isn't exactly on the line here, and the last 10, 12 games of the regular season aren't really when it matters. So I think they're probably gearing up. But yeah, what you say about the core there, I mean, look, I'm not going to diminish the skill. The skill on the guys is phenomenal, but I don't know what the grit is on those top 4 guys up front.
Ken, do you have a theory on why we can watch the Islanders last night look real desperate, but we don't necessarily get that out of a Calgary or a Winnipeg or the Leafs last night?
The Calgary stuff's wild, with the stuff that maybe some guys don't want to play for Sutter.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, geez, it was funny. I got home from work the other night, and the Edmonton game was on, the Calgary game was on. I'm like, okay, I think I'll watch the Flames. It was 6-1 Kings after 2 when I got home, and I'm like, oh, my God.
Yeah.
Like, I just don't understand that lack of desperation, and I don't know if they've quit on the coach, but I think that's an assumption you could make when you look at something like that. I mean, they looked good last night, but they were playing Anaheim, which aren't exactly the 77 Montreal Canadiens. But for the Leafs last night, I just take that game and I flush it. I mean, could you imagine if Ohtani served up softballs to Trout like that when they were trying to clear the zone? Holy smokes. It was pizza night on Long Island. It was funny. They showed a montage during the game of the Leafs turnovers, and I said to Ivanka, I go, I don't know, maybe it's just bad ice. And I'm like, oh, no, that wasn't bad ice. No, that wasn't bad ice. No, that wasn't bad ice. So, yeah, that was just an off night. I don't know, guys. What do you think? It's one of those games you just kind of flush, I think.
Yeah, and and even Sheldon didn't seem to hate their game that much. He kind of just felt like a couple of, as you mentioned, pizzas go the wrong way. They shoot it in your net, and it looks a lot worse than it is.
Yeah, exactly.
Flush that one a little bit. Wanted to ask you about some other stuff around the hockey world because we don't get you on very much. One of the things that I thought you might have some insight on is the QMJHL banning fighting.
I thought you might go there, Bourne.
Yeah.
And I'm assuming you're in favor of it and you're glad to see that there won't be any more fighting.
Oh yeah, for sure. It's funny. Tim and I have the commissioner of the Q on tonight, and I mean, I'm not going to attack the guy. He's a guest on our show, but I'm going to ask him fair questions, I think. But I think it's a joke, to be honest. Fighting is pretty much eliminated from the queue as it is. I mean, you get 5 and a 10. There's a fight every 8 games, I think. We wrote the other day, Mark Spector. I looked up the stats on hockeyfights.com. The team with the most fighting majors in the league is Charlottetown with 19. The Ramparts have 1. I mean, Kyper, North Bay used to get 19 on a weekend, I'm guessing.
Yeah, the Sioux involved for sure.
Yeah, I mean, so to me, fighting's pretty much been eliminated as it is. So I don't know what the rush to do this is, because I think every once in a while, when a guy crosses the line on the ice, he's got to pay the price. And I said that on Twitter, and of course, everyone's like, "You're advocating bare knuckle fighting, a 21-year-old beating up a 15-year-old." I'm like, well, first off, if you watch junior hockey, there's maybe 2 21-year-olds who just turned 21 after Christmas. And secondly, 20-year-olds don't fight the 16-year-olds. We all know that, unless something totally goes off the rails. So I just think I don't know what the rush to do it is. I don't know what the, politically correct term is for trying to get rid of all the dirty work and make hockey so fun. And, sometimes you got to punch a guy in the face.
Love it.
I'm the dinosaur.
Yep. Kipper, when people send me a GIF and it shows old man shakes hand at cloud and they call me a dinosaur, I could not be happier. To me, that is the biggest compliment. Sometimes you got to get punched in the face. That's just the way the world works, and it applies to the ice as well. And
right to the bitter end.
Love it.
Right. Yeah.
Any sense that the Ontario or the Western League will feel differently here? They're under one umbrella. We know that at the CHL, but like it doesn't sound like the O or the W are in a hurry to follow these footsteps here. This could get really ugly or interesting, one of the two.
I think so. And I mean, kids have always chose major junior because they're thinking, okay, it's the fastest route. It mimics the NHL more than college hockey. Look, if I'm Paul Kariya and it's 1992 and I can go to the Dub or I can go to NCAA, I'm going NCAA. I mean, but I think it should be open to how it suits your game. And if you're a young kid and you're rough around the edges now and you're growing up in the Maritimes or Quebec and you'd like to play major junior, you're not going to go into major junior thinking I'm going to fight 30 times this year, because that just doesn't happen anymore.
Right.
But you might be thinking, if I got to drop the gloves 4 or 5 times, that's cool. I mean, in the O right now, if you drop them 3 times, you get suspended. So to me, fighting's it's going away, but it'll always be there. So I don't see what the big rush is to just hammer the door shut right now.
But isn't it great that it's going away naturally, and it's the play? Ultimately, it's the player's decision, and it's their discretion to use it when they want to use it, and they haven't really felt the need to use it. But at least it's their decision.
Right. Exactly. And I think, we live in a world where everybody's telling you what to do at all times, and sometimes it has to be the Wild West. And sometimes in the Wild West, old Wyatt Earp wouldn't pull the pistol out. He'd walk away. And I like that. I love seeing a scrap. I love when a scrap happens and it's heat of the moment. I used to cover the Q when it had Peter Orwell and Jody Shelley and Francois Paget, Joel the Animal Theriault, and they'd just go, right? You want to get your pins up, you're going to have a go. But when it happens organically, it happens. And the fact that it's just kind of going away, that's fine. But the option to have a go should still be there, if you ask me.
Yeah, it does seem like, as you guys mentioned, that it's sort of naturally working its way out, and it is weird to kind of rush things along. It probably changes the look of that league in terms of who wants to play there and what it does for it developmentally. That I just think also, Kenny, don't you think, I watch UFC, I love watching fighting. I like watching boxing. Is there some acceptance when you play a professional sport like hockey that you are getting involved in something physical, that intimidation is a part of it, and that's just another element?
There should be. That's not around anymore. Remember Zegras last year? The guys on the other team were trying to hit me. Yeah, hello. This isn't the U.S. National Development Team program. Man up. So I think that part of the game, which I loved, which was if you cross the line, you're in trouble. And if we can't beat him on the rink, we'll beat him in the alley. I'm sorry, Freddie Shero, but I like that. And I that's the game I grew up watching and fell in love with. I grew up watching Wayne Gretzky have so much room, because if you touched him, Dave Semenko would do what he had to do. And Kipper, that era, Dave Semenko would gas guys off the draw. Are you going to play hockey tonight, or you want to get stupid? And 3/4 of the time they'd say, "Oh, well, play hockey, Mr. Semenko," and he wouldn't have to do anything. And I mean, I don't want leagues handing out suspensions left and right, but if there's no fighting, they're going to have to, because bad things are still going to happen. Yeah. And for me, fighting could at least punish those bad things immediately, if not curtail them, because I think I'll be interesting to see what the play is like in the queue when they totally eliminate fighting, because now you can still go. You don't go a lot, but you can still do it. If you guys watch, I mean, Bourne, you played NCAA, but I used to watch a lot of Atlantic University sport hockey. Awesome hockey, tons of major junior guys. The stick work is epic. Like, they look like lumberjacks out there. So I'll be interested to see what happens with that.
Who's your favorite right now out there to do it all?
To do it all. The working man's PhD kind of player. Josh Anderson. I got a hockey crush on Josh Anderson. I hope he's okay. I saw him go down last night, but I think Josh Anderson's a pretty complete player. I think if need him to mess around a little, he can do that.
How about Tage Thompson fought last night too? Do you see that?
Yeah,
I saw that. Not very well, but you got to do it once in a while just to say you did it right.
Tom Wilson.
Yeah, you got to love Tom Wilson. You know, North Toronto Arena, picture on the wall. You know, so you got to love that. But I think if I had a hockey man crush for the guy that do it all, I'll go back to Josh Anderson. I mean, when Montreal got him, I was so pumped up. But there's tough times in Montreal. But yeah, Tom Wilson I like. I couldn't stand the other night when Bunting wouldn't go with Kane. I thought that was awful. Yeah. If you're going to play that way, every once in a while you got to stand up and do the right thing. So I didn't like that at all. But that's what you can do now, right?
All right, one more before we let you go. Where's Connor Bedard going?
Oh, man. Well, I wish Montreal would lose a bunch of games. I was thinking about that the other night, how awesome it would be for him to go to Montreal. But I don't want him to make his NHL debut in an arena that's smaller than the rink he currently plays his home games in, with 4 shadows around him from poor lighting at a college rink when he skates out at Arizona State for the Arizona Coyotes. That's what I don't want to see. Yeah. No offense, Arizona, but I don't want to see that.
Still may come.
I know, isn't that awful? Like, I mean, I love the WHA guys, the stories from it, but they should remain there. The NHL doesn't need his own WHA moment playing at the Mullet Arena. I mean, how bad is it you got to name your friggin' rink after a haircut to try to attract hockey? You know?
We know.
That'd be like going to North Bay and renaming it like the Feathered Hair Arena after like the style of 1985.
Buddy, I had nobody beat my feathered back hair game.
Oh, what did you guys do? You blow dry it or what?
I don't know. It just seemed just naturally it would go back there, I think.
Okay.
Borny, when you score 60 goals in the O, you can do your hair any way you want.
Yeah.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
Hey, Reader, awesome stuff, man.
Awesome, boys. Thanks for having me. Pucks in deep,
Anytime.
None of that fancy analytics, buddy. Just get them in deep.
Thanks for coming on, pal.
Ken Reid, part of that great team we see every night on Sportsnet with Ivanka.
You know what I love about him? And there's many, many things, but authenticity is, it's such a desired trait to me in today's, Instagram influencer sort of culture. Like, Kenny's Kenny. Take it or leave it. He doesn't care.
Yeah.
And a lot of people say, "Well, take it." Love him too.
Love it. Absolutely love it. All right. Where do you want to go? We got
2 things.
A little bit of time, and we got the NHLPA poll.
We do, but I also want to talk about Shohei Ohtani striking out his teammate, Mike Trout.
Yeah.
100-mile-an-hour fastball, 97-mile-an-hour sliding.
That was the matchup that everybody talked about.
Yeah.
And then it happened.
And they are literally the 2 best baseball players on the planet. They're teammates, and they would never play were it not for some sort of event like this. And they had a showdown to end the game, struck out Mike Trout. This guy threw 102 miles an hour in the tournament and hit a ball 118 miles per hour. He had the highest exit velocity and the hardest pitch of the whole tournament, Ohtani. So they're saying he might get $600 million on his next deal. Sorry, that was $600 million.
The Senators aren't worth that.
Yeah, that's right. Would you rather buy the Senators forever or Ohtani for 10 years?
Or just one guy?
That's a fair question.
You got sound up for us?
McDavid clip.
Connor McDavid weighed in on the lack of best on best. That's where we're going with this. Is hockey hasn't had best on best. No McDavid versus Draisaitl, Marner versus Matthews. What did Connor McDavid have to say?
I thought it was really cool. It's what we've been asking for in hockey for a long time, right? It's best on best. And, look, everyone's talking about baseball. And, did you see, Ohtani versus Trout? And, that's what hockey's been missing for, almost a decade now. So, that's what we've been asking for.
That's direct, isn't it?
So, yeah, who wouldn't want to see McDavid versus Matthews, right?
How about McDavid on line with Sid? Their careers are going to overlap for 10 years, and they're never going to play in a single international competition together.
So what's the sense out there that last night's World Baseball Championship is putting a ton of heat now on Gary Bettman and the NHL? Are all the hockey fans going, hey, that was fantastic last night. Where's ours?
Yeah. And they're saying that, they were going to do a World Cup, but now it can't be till like 2025 or 2026 because no one wants to tell Russia they can't come.
Well, that's the
even worse.
IHF, I think, made it official or put something out the other day on no Russia. So, and the league is totally backing that up because they won't do anything without Russia.
Well, can we just see it without Russia then? Can I get Germany with
the players,
Draisaitl and
the NHL players don't want it
Stützle?
Without Russia, and neither does Gary Bettman.
Well, it sounds to me like the players want to have this tournament.
They do.
I'm sure they would be fine.
They do, but it'll suck without Russia.
It would be preferred to have them for sure. Absolutely. But I mean, if you can't, you still got to go ahead with it in some capacity. Like, it's just been too long. It's been a shame. And part of it is, the pandemic put a damper on it. And, obviously the opportunities
they were disorganized long before the pandemic.
Yeah. But it's just been a shame. It's just it really brought to light. You think about, Lemieux and Gretzky and Howard Chuck, putting together that great moment for Canada, like never getting to see Sid with McDavid is such a loss.
The only thing, and I covered the last World Cup here in Toronto, and it's a lot harder to manufacture the intensity of international play outside of the Olympics for a very long time now. And the World Cup was a nice event.
Kyper, it was dumb.
But it didn't carry much intensity, and our game needs
Canada
intensity.
couldn't have Connor McDavid. The rules were stupid, and you're right. I agree that it has to matter.
Baseball, it's easier because it's at the end of the day, it's just a guy throwing a ball and
you
a guy
just
trying to hit a ball.
knuckle down for your at bat or whatever.
That will never change in terms of the intensity, but to have that physical element of go back to 72, go back to 87 in Hamilton. It felt like for Canadians, it was our, do or die. We're either the best in the world or we're going to get crushed, that we can't claim hockey supremacy. But I don't know if a World Cup does that anymore. I think the Olympics does because it carries the energy of this is the best tournament for athletics in the world.
You make a very valid point about how maybe the emotional stakes wouldn't be there, but it doesn't matter. Like, you have to have the opportunity to see these guys together. They can decide what the stakes are with their play and their effort. If it matters to them, then it'll matter to the rest of us. We just need to see it.
You know what I remember
most? Shinny.
You know what I remember most about the World Cup in 2016 here was, a couple things, is that the energy that the young guns brought.
Yeah.
And again, really like a stupid concept.
How did that happen?
But it doesn't matter because it was that next generation of great young players.
Yeah.
And how, watching Austin Matthews before he was a Toronto Maple Leaf was really cool.
Oh, he made, a very memorable play. I won't call it iconic, but I mean.
Yeah. And the other thing was watching Brad Marchand play with Patrice Bergeron and Sidney Crosby.
Love that.
And how that was like, so this kid who we just thought would be like this third line rat turned into a front line future Hall of Famer.
Yeah. He did, if you look at his career when he signed that deal that paid him $6 per year, very good player. What he has become since then is a different caliber of player.
No, like one of the best in this generation.
Yeah.
Like who can do it all. And depending on how this season finishes, and it's looking pretty good right now for him and Patrice and the rest of that group. I mean, he's going to go down as one of the best sports figures in Boston's history. You know, he's going to be up there. A championship for the Boston Bruins would put all those guys in that same light as, Phil, Bobby, and all the greats.
So, on that note, there are 5 players in the latest poll that were voted in this question. Which player do you least enjoy playing against, but would like to have on your team? Don't look. Don't look.
We're doing this?
Don't look. Yep,
Okay.
we are.
All right.
5 players that players voted that they would like to have in their team, but hate playing against.
Okay.
So we were just talking about
Brad Marchand.
number 1.
Brad Marchand.
Yeah, number 1.
Yeah. I mentioned him with Ken Reid, Tom Wilson.
Tom Wilson is one of the 5. Absolutely. You'll get.
You know who I would put up there, and I don't know if he got any looks or any serious consideration. Evander Kane.
Great pick. He's not on there, but that's a really great pick. Yeah, because he's the guy who fits the mold there.
Yes.
There's one more I think you might get, and then 2 you may be harder.
Now, with Ovechkin's hammering you on goals, but he's also hammering you in the boards.
Yeah, that's a good one. He's not on there. The other ones are.
Connor?
Yes. Connor McDavid is second.
He'd just be a nightmare.
You just don't want to defend that.
No. I'd rather get hammered than embarrassed,
So
tripping
true,
over my feet.
Yeah, I'll take "Ow, that hurts" over watching the highlight for the rest of my career, rest of my life, watching him dangle me. Like Morgan Riley has to watch Connor turn him inside out till he's dead. The other 2 are Matthew Tkachuk.
Yeah, for sure. He's a pain in the ass.
Surprising for this one, Victor Hedman. It's only 3.9% of the vote, so probably a couple guys.
I don't think you're, scared of going against Victor Hedman. I just think
good.
it's when you got that height and that reach from one side of the boards to the other, that could be very frustrating to play against.
Makes sense. Makes sense to me. All right, should we go through these?
Did you see the list?
I haven't looked at any
Okay,
of
then
them.
don't. Then I'm going to pick a category and I'm going to reverse it on you.
All right, let's do it.
And see how many you get. All right. Let's go with best passer. And this is all under the NHL players poll, which dates back
Players
to, I think, back in my day, I think we used to do this too. And,
so you get 5 names. Is our boy Mitch on there?
And by the way, for the most part, I think what happens is the players pass this over to the trainers and the trainers fill it out. So really, it should be the NHL Players Association poll by
trainers,
team
by equipment
trainers,
managers. Okay,
by equipment managers.
Do we get Mitch?
What did we say? Best passer.
Is Mitch on there?
No,
Mitch Martin. That's shocking. Genuinely shocking.
I'm watching last night. If the Leafs had like 8 or 9 quality chances, Mitch must have set up like 5.
The pass
or
to
6.
Gustafson was nasty.
Really nasty.
Yeah. So Leon Draisaitl's got to be number 1 or 2.
25% of the players voted for Leon.
So good. Patrick Kane.
You're 2 for 2 right now. 13% when Patrick Kane at number 2. I don't know if you're going to get this one. And he is awesome.
You got a D-man back there like Fox?
No, they're all forwards.
All forwards, hey? Panarin.
Yes, number 4.
Okay.
But you're missing between Pat Kane and Panarin.
Did they put McDavid on there?
Yes, he is 5th.
Okay. Oh, man. This is the sort of thing that's going to kill me, isn't it?
Kucherov. Yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. For sure.
That's a good list.
What's he at? 100 points already
he's
again?
got like 100
again?
Some points. No big deal.
All right.
So let's go through a couple of these. We don't have to do the test on everyone.
No.
Okay, if you need one game, which goalie would you want? Everyone picks Vasilevsky. Half the league picked him. The other 4 names, you want to suggest any?
Well, number 2, it's always Vasilevsky and New York.
Yeah, Shesterkin.
Shesterkin. I got Sorokin in my head. That's why.
Well, he's on the list too.
Okay, that's why.
But the drop-off, Vasilevsky got 52.3% of the vote. Second place is Shesterkin with 4.8%. So went around the league.
So this was done before watching Tampa Bay's last 20 games.
Apparently it was. Top defenseman in the NHL right now. A massive, dominating total for one defenseman.
Victor.
No, Victor's second with 11.4%.
Cale Makar.
Cale's number one,
Sorry.
Victor two.
Yeah, Cale's like Bobby Orr.
Yeah. Yossi, Carlson, and Fox. Rasmus Dahlin snuck in there, tied with Fox, which kind of surprises me a little bit.
Any other kind of categories stick out to you?
Best stick handler is interesting.
Yeah. Pat Kane,
number one.
Yeah.
Over McDavid. That's a little surprising to me. The only real shocker on there is Trevor Zegras snuck in. I only say shocker because, I don't know, you just don't think of him as one of the elite guys in the game, even though he can do such unbelievably skilled things.
Most underrated player.
What a tiresome answer this is.
What do you think?
8 years in a row, Alexander Barkov. Is he? Is he underrated at this point?
Can you when you're making $10.5 $11 million?
10.5, getting voted for this award every single year. Interesting though on that list, we got Tage Thompson, Zibanejad, Sebastian Aho, Braden Point, but Jesper Bratt is an interesting name on there.
He's so good.
He is good.
Did you see that goal he cut into the middle of the ice and then put one over Vasilevsky? I think the other night.
I didn't see the highlights.
Oh God.
What NHL arena has the best ice?
He's gonna re-sign too. They may have trouble signing him.
You're gonna have cap issues. Couple of the annoying ones, if we can.
Yeah.
Best shoe game in the NHL.
Yes, this is where, like, I don't want to win this.
No. I've seen the gum boots you wear in here some winter days. I don't think you're winning.
God.
No concerns there, pal.
You know, I don't need that association.
And he won it in convincing fashion. Austin Matthews. Best shoes in the NHL.
Best shoes.
You're going to kill him for that if they don't win something bigger.
Oh no! If they're out in the first round, he's going to go down in history as the best shoe guy.
Giordano's going to have his golden shin pad.
Pads
He's
and
going to
shoes. That's all the Leafs are going to be remembered for.
Oh God!
Hey, did you win the cup?
Happens.
No, but we won best shin pad blocker and best shoes of the year.
Oh, that's rough. How about they had a vote for the best NHL player or best guy in the locker room? Best locker room.
I would have
guy.
been up for that. I was a great guy in the room.
I don't see your name on here, but
best guy in the room.
Yeah.
Just give me a chance. Just give me a chance. No idea who would.
I'll say the first name and you'll get it. You'll be like, all right. This is a goalie. Give me a goalie.
Oh, Marc-Andre Fleury.
Number one.
There you go. The flower.
You know who's on the list? Phil Kessel.
Really?
People love Phil. Goofball. Hayes, Voracek, Ryan Johansson, Nick Foligno got some votes. That one was evenly distributed. We're talking 2-3% per guy. Best NHL road city to have an off day.
Oh, God. How is it not Florida, man?
Well, because there's another
the
newer
beach.
city that has.
So they can go gamble?
Yeah, I guess. Vegas? Number one, 30%. And Florida finished third, too.
See, I'd take beach over casino. But there's golf.
I'd take casino over beach.
There's golf there, too.
But number two is New York, New York. You know, that's my number one. If I could have an off day in any city, put me in Manhattan.
God, we got excited when Quebec went to Colorado so we could, on an off day.
Smoke weed? Oh, sorry.
No, ski or snowmobile.
Did you actually do that in Colorado?
Oh, my God.
Was that not in your contract that you couldn't?
Mess took us snowmobiling.
Come on,
well
under
Colorado.
contract
for
the New York Rangers.
We each had our own snowmobiles.
Those things are death traps.
And, we're like hammering each other,
Yeah.
like side by side, trying to knock each other off. These things are flipping. All I remember is at the end of it, when we had to turn them in, all I saw was Mark Messier like writing a check for damages.
Oh, I'm sure.
And it was
Those are expensive machines.
It was not. It was. I think it was a nice. They were like looking at the snowmobiles, going. They were like writing down. And they're like, need new this, need new that, and it's like, did you take Visa?
One of my favorite Clark Gilly stories is, so he was a big snowmobiler. They used to go up to Vermont and snowmobile all the time. And he loved these things, and he wanted to get a new one every year. But his wife, buying a new snowmobile every year. And Clark, wonderful to his wife, Pam, but he used to tell her he got it painted every year. she was like, oh, yeah. He's like, yeah, it gets chips on it, whatever. Got to get a fresh paint job every year. He'd sell a new snowmobile every year.
He's such a smart guy.
That's a good hustle. Also, get your golf stuff sent to the office, not home. That's a veteran move I've seen too.
What rink you said, was it best rink,
best
best
ice.
atmosphere, best ice?
Best ice.
Has to be Edmonton.
That has been the long-running one. It's second to Bell Center in Montreal.
Bell Center.
But
so,
I mean,
4 out of 5 Canadians?
Well, 3. So Winnipeg's third. St. Paul, Minnesota is fourth.
Yeah.
The shocker, number 5, Las Vegas in the desert.
Wow.
They must have like a newfangled refrigeration system.
Yeah.
Something like that.
Yeah.
I know, living in Alaska and playing up at Sullivan Arena, it's like skating on diamond. It's hard. It's beautiful. Got to be in a cold climate.
Anything else, like most complete player with nice shoes or anything like that?
Complete player was Crosby. He was number 1 in that category. I'm surprised. Yeah, Kane, best stick handler. In a must-win game, what forward do you think would be most impactful? Connor only got 60% of the vote. Imagine voting for Kucherov over McDavid.
Oh, this one's
Bergeron
interesting.
over McDavid.
This one's interesting. Who affects the game most around the net? Did you look?
No, I didn't.
Okay, give me a name.
Someone tips it in. Pavelski?
Yeah, number 1.
Come on.
21.4. Good call.
Well, he's always he's tipping, deflecting, everything. Lots of rebounds.
Yeah. Another one. Power play guy in front of the net. The best.
Oh, Kreider?
Yes. Number 2. And then that pesky guy in Florida again.
Kachuk, yeah. Battling it out. Yeah, that makes sense.
And one we saw last night in the island.
Brock Nelson?
Nope.
Anders Lee?
Yes.
Yeah. Big bodies who kind of live in that paint. Tavares kind of does a lighter version of that for the Leafs power play.
All right. God, we covered everything. Ovechkin passing Gretzky for most 40-goal season in NHL history.
How many?
13.
My God. 13 40-goal season. Oh, my God. Oh,
he's a machine.
You know what is a shame we don't have Sam for? Fanatics to become the official NHL jersey sponsor.
Please explain to me. Like, I'm reading this and I'm like, okay, no big deal. This happens all the time, but people are upset.
They are.
Why?
I'm thrilled.
Thank you for
what
the
is it with
Sammy
Fanatics? What's the beef on Fanatics?
I'm not the guy to ask. Here's what I'm hearing from other people. It sounds like the quality is not up to par compared to a lot of the other jersey manufacturers. Sounds like they initially, a lot of quick printed jerseys that the quality didn't hold up. And then they made a bunch of money with these sort of deals and they're buying up all the rights. And it sounds like, I don't know. My understanding is it's not the depth of color that you would want, Kyper.
Yeah.
I know you care about this sort of stuff.
Well, a little bit more since I've been on this show.
Low thread count.
Low thread count? Yeah.
Low thread count.
I look at some of the jerseys my dad used to wear. It's like cheese grater material. Like
the glue.
Egyptian cotton.
The glue's not holding up, is it, on the letters?
No, you breathe hot on the name bars and they peel off. It's apparently not the highest quality product.
Just like that.
What do I know?
We've come to the end of our show.
And by the way, for everyone, just so they know, we had Off the Rails Wednesday today because Kyper is not going to be here tomorrow.
I'm taking off. I'm pulling a Sammy and taking off for a few days, heading south, but I'll be back next week. I know you're going to hold the fort here with our good buddy Gunner.
Me and Guns, yeah. We will talking Leafs.
Don't go anywhere, everybody. Still going strong here on Real Kyper and Bourne. Our thanks to Brad May and Ken Reid. And give us a rating and review. We love hearing from you. The feedback is awesome. Have a great night, everybody.